I think we are. Yep, looks like we are live. Sweet. All right, let's go ahead and play the little intro. All right then, what is going on, guys? Welcome to another video. I'm your boy Narik Chase, and I have with me here Miss Madam B, and we are coming at you with an episode of Head to Head. Now, for those who don't know what Head to Head is basically where we get the chance to pick either two characters, two ideas, two game franchises, two film franchises, just two opposing things, and we talk about which one is better, which one has the better qualities, which one has the worst qualities, just a basic versus playlist that we got going on right now. And for those who have been anticipating the videos this week, I am terribly sorry. There have been some couple of hiccups. But in light of that, we are ready to come at y'all with another video, and this is going to be a really good one, something I've been meaning to do for quite some time. Of course, there's the big debate: which film franchise is better? Is it the Underworld film franchise or the Resident Evil film franchise? So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. Now, Miss Madam B, give me your brief impressions on both film franchises.
Well, I saw Resident Evil, the series first, and I haven't seen Underworld until after our meeting. Well, I did like Resident Evil. I thought it was something different. That was until I saw Underworld. So instead of vampires battling humans, it was actually just two different creatures battling one another, vampires and werewolves / Lycans. So I thought that was something different. It was really good, actually.
All right then. Now we do have our certain categories that we're gonna go down. We have how many? 7? No, 8. 8 categories.
That's a lot.
Yeah, 8. Yeah, 8. But that's because I like to be very thorough with the videos. So everybody, when we do videos like this, everybody gets the full understanding of why. Because I don't like someone saying that they like something but they can't tell me why. But that's just me. So we're going to go ahead and get into this and hope y'all enjoy this video, because I know I am, and I hope she does as well. So in terms of the both film franchises, let's talk about the storylines first. Now, what did you think about the stories? Because in the Underworld story, you end up following this vampire named Selene, who is what they call a death dealer, who basically hunts and kills Lycans and werewolves. But of course, her world gets turned upside down, and the films basically follow her role in this, this centuries-old war between vampires and Lycans. Whereas in the Resident Evil film franchise, you're following this character Alice, who's battling the evil Umbrella Corporation and the byproduct of everything that they've created, which is just throwing the world into the zombie apocalypse. But throughout all the films for each franchise, how do you think the stories hold up?
Well, I think I like the Underworld storyline better. I do give the Resident Evil story, its due, but I would like to see what Alice did before all that broke out, so that way we can get a more understanding of how it affected her, and not just, okay, well, I'm off to save the world after all this happened. So yeah.
I think the stories are both good, and each movie, of course, when the movies first dropped, they were made to be standalone films, and then people liked them so much, each film builds upon the rest. I do think, in terms of the story, I think Underworld does have a richer story, because what we've seen with the whole time the first two films come out, you're like, okay, there's this war, and what is built up to this war, and then of course you get the third movie, which explores the origins of how this war starts. And I like the fact that the story does tend to kind of jump around a little bit because you have the first two films are basically in the present, the third film's in the past, and then the other two films are somewhat in the future. I do feel that the Underworld story is more. Not only is it richer, but I do feel like it's more concrete. Now, I like the Resident Evil, don't get me wrong, because Resident Evil is one of my favorite franchises. But I think that the story, like in terms of the films, they sometimes they don't even feel like they're the same franchise because they go through so many different changes. If like you know what I'm saying, there's some elements, yeah, they throw in the zombies and stuff like that, but the films don't feel like sometimes they're interconnected, right? Whereas the Underworld story is just it feels every movie does feel like it's actually a part of this the franchise. Like when you watch the first movie all the way to the last movie, it feels like this is the same universe. Resident Evil tends to feel like okay, the first two movies felt like they're a bit grounded. The third movie felt it was a bit grounded, and then it just kind of goes a little bit over the top. I mean, like it's not a bad story. It's a good story. It's probably one of the most interesting zombie apocalypse film franchises because the story is is out there. It's out. It's definitely out there. But I do think that Underworld, in terms of the actual story of immersion of the characters and actually, which that's another thing I would say too. I think Underworld does a bit more with the story involving the characters. So they are a bit more memorable, but we ain't got to the characters yet. But I think me personally, as much as I love the Resident Evil film franchise, yes the movies are shit, but I really do enjoy the Underworld story. I think it's richer. I think it's deeper. I think it's better written as well. So I'm saying this. I think it's Underworld. What do you think? You said Resident Evil, Underworld.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have an Underworld. Um, let's talk about the characters. Which series you think has the more memorable characters?
Well, in Resident Evil, there were a lot. There were so many.
I'm conflicted with this one because Resident Evil has a leg up on Underworld because a lot of the characters that were in the films were established through the games.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Underworld, all of their characters are original. But I think both films have their characters that are forgettable, and I think they have their characters that are pretty memorable.
Okay, so what are we talking in terms of?
Just like the characters, are they cool? Are they memorable? Are they shitty? Which one has the better characters? Like some of my favorite characters are like I say bad guy. I bring up a bad guy. I like Albert Wesker in the Resident Evil films. But if we're going by Underworld, one of my favorite bad guys is Tobias. And for those who don't know who Tobias is, Tobias was the one that not Tobias, not Tobias. No, I'm not saying Tobias was a good one. I forgot what the other guy was. Quint, or something like that. He was the Uber one, the one that kept turning to that huge werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, like I liked him. Quint, something like that. Well, I liked him. I thought he was a pretty cool bad guy. In fact, I wish that movie would have gave him a bit more screen time. And then, of course, one of my favorite characters in Underworld was Michael. Even though they gave him they did it the way they did Resident Evil 2. They gave him that treatment too, where it's like he just gone. We don't know what the hell happened to him. But one of my favorite characters in Resident Evil was what's his name? Boris? No, his real name is Boris something.
The
But
light skinned one.
Luther. Yeah, yes. Luther was one of my favorite characters in the series. So I liked Claire. I thought Claire was a pretty cool character, and she actually kind of holds. She actually holds up like Jill and if you think about it, like Jill and Claire. They're both in multiple about two movies, but they actually like I like both of them characters. They were pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool, like female characters as well. And if you go back towards Underworld, what was the one chick, Lynn Lay from Blood Wars? The one that kept the one that started showing all that magical stuff.
See, I've only watched like the series once. As in Resident Evil, I watched it like 3 times each on all of them.
I'm
So
trying to
I,
think what this woman's name was. She was the cool vampire in Blood Wars, and she kept talking about the path, and she had the white hair. And remember when later on in the movie, Selene starts doing that thing where she like vanishes. Wow. He just like looked at me. I'm like, what? Okay. Um, Lynn, something like that. I can't remember because I did put it on my list. In fact, let me pull up my website because I know how I got her on the list. And y'all need to check it out. NarikChase.com. Go watch it. I mean, go read up on it and see all that good, really good, entertaining, and informative content we putting on there all the time. Upload stuff every week. Y'all need to go check it out. Yes, let's see what we have here. Quint, I keep thinking of this guy's name, but even with Sonya, uh, who was Victor's daughter, the one he burned alive.
mm-hmm.
I like her. I thought she was a memorable character as well. Samira, she was the bad guy from the Blood Wars. I liked her. She was a vampire. She was ambitious, and she was different too. Even though she was kind of over the top, she was different. From the formula. Now I will say this: both films, in terms of the bad guys, they each kind of have these formulas for their bad guys. And a lot and Resident Evil has always had this problem with their villains. Like all of their villains are just like these one dimensional. Either they're crazy businessmen, they're they're on some kind of power trip. They're some crazy scientists. They're always like a combination of them three, or some crazy military dude, something like stupid. But they don't actually have like good motivations outside of just. Wesker is probably the most memorable villain out of all of them.
Well, what was his motivation?
He was just power hungry. But it was his character. He was like one of those villains that Wesker is one of those villains that are kind of like is one dimensional, but he's badass and he has personality.
Mm.
So that's why he's so memorable. The rest of them just like fakes. Yeah, Quint. Yeah, he the one that turned into the giant Lycan. I thought he was pretty cool. I like Victor. Victor was freaking Lena. That's her name, because she was the one. She was the vampire that was doing that disappearing stuff. But in terms of actual characters, I think both films, again, I mean both series, definitely have their good characters. Definitely have their bad characters. So I'm split. I'm me personally. I think they're both. They both got the, like they're equal.
Well, I don't know because all of the characters you just mentioned came from Underworld, really.
No, I named a bunch of them.
I know you named a bunch of them, but like mostly the characters, like you mentioned, came from Underworld. I would have to say Underworld because I can only think of a few that I really liked. On Resident Evil, that was Alice. Even though I guess she got killed and they brought her back or clone or I forgot her name, but it's Michelle Rodriguez. She was
Rain.
yeah, she was kind of cool and see
RJ, the guy from the Mummy.
yeah,
Was it,
forgettable.
you didn't like that? I actually liked RJ. But that's because I don't like Mike Epps in comedy roles. And that was the best one he's ever done.
But it's still like forgettable to me.
Uh-oh.
And what's that chick's name with the Jill and
Jill.
Claire? And I forgot that dude's name. He was with Claire.
You ain't talking about Chris, right?
No.
I'm about to say Chris was totally forgettable. That guy. Well, it ain't really him. They just didn't give him nothing to do in the movie.
Okay, which one?
The one that was locked up. He was like, "Get me out of here."
No, I'm talking about the one that was with Claire in Extinction. Extinction.
I don't know. She had a couple of dudes with her.
Okay.
There was the nerd guy.
The one at the end who who sacrificed himself at the end of the one with Mike Epps on there.
Yeah, that's the guy from the Mummy. You was like, nah. I was like,
Say his name.
I don't
how
know.
Many
something
guys?
O'Dare. I don't know.
Yeah, how many guys are from the Mummy?
It was only him. I forgot his name, but I forgot what was that guy's name? I don't remember.
Carlos.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos was pretty cool. Barry Burton was totally forgettable. Ada Wong, no. James Marcus, no. Leon Kennedy, hell no. So, in terms, like I said, to me, the characters both. Honestly, there's no. They both got shitty characters. Both got good characters. I ain't even mentioned to Tobias. I didn't like his character in Awakening, but I found him enjoyable in Blood Wars.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna say both. Yeah. All right. What do you think about the cast?
Well, like I said, Underworld cast slips my mind a little bit, but the Resident Evil,
More familiar faces.
yeah,
They
were all right.
Yeah, I'm split again on this one too because both of them do have. They got good cast. They have some pretty memorable people. You got Bill Nighy. Bill Nighy was in it. Of course, you got Kate Beckinsale, Theo James, who I wish he wouldn't play like serious roles sometimes because he seems like one of the actors that don't show emotion. Um, Scott Speedman, everybody loves Scott Speedman till his departure. Rona Mitra was in this, or what's that? Something Graveau. That guy was in there, of course. So they've actually had a lot of Laura Pulver, Tobias Menzies. I don't know Tobias Menzies. Tony Curran. Tony Curran was freaking awesome. Resident Evil, of course, has Michelle Rodriguez. You got Milla Jovovich. They had the one guy to play Johnny Cage in freaking Mortal Kombat, which he had more screen time. You got N. Glenn, Sienna Guillory, Jason Isaacs. Oh yeah, he was a narrator. Um, but we're not gonna count him because he wasn't really in the movie. Zach Ward, even though he got the shit killed out of him, of course. Mike Epps.
I would have to, as far as the cast go.
Allie Lauder. Well,
you don't have to be like in between. I mean, we had a more memorable cast.
No, but see the difference is between these two. Underworld's cast is more like British people, and then this one is more people from America. Because like,
I understand that, but why does that matter?
No, I was just saying,
No, I'm just saying in which movie has a more memorable cast?
Like I said, to me, both. This is one of them things where I'm like the performances and cast, they're about even to me because I know a lot of the cast. I know a lot of the cast in here, and I thought they were enjoyable.
So you mean they couldn't pick nobody else to play Betty other than Ashanti? I think they could have.
Betty's original character. We don't even know who this. She was cannon fodder.
But still, what about
You know what? Okay, I do it like this. Resident Evil pulled a Sharknado. It had a whole bunch of cameos too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I don't know. I mean, you know what? As much as I like Underworld, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Resident Evil, the cast.
Just because Underworld was so close, just closed, closed off.
No, because they've got everyone. Oh, they fair. Milla Jovovich, Ian Glenn, who's awesome. Alec Lauder.
Oh,
I'm don't make me go down that list now. So, Resident Evil takes the cast. She got me. Okay. what we got next?
visuals.
I think in terms of the visuals,
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. Yeah, I guess Resident Evil 2, because they do a lot of practical.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's with like stunts and stuff, a lot of the creatures are actually practical. I mean, like the makeup and prosthetics and the costume design, everything's really on point. I do like the look of Underworld. Of course, it's got that dark gothic tone to it. I do like the costume designs for the characters because the clothing actually looks pretty cool. At least on the vampires, the werewolves look like shit. But and then with the werewolves and stuff, a lot of it is CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Now in the first two movies, the Lycans were actually they did have some practical. Like the werewolves, the Lycans were practical, and that was pretty cool. But then after that, most of the wolves and stuff that you see are actually like CGI. So in terms of the actual, and then not to mention Resident Evil with all of the big hoopla and the explosions and stuff like that, they've got some pretty cool camera angles too.
It actually worked.
Yeah. I think one of the most visually stunning sequences I've seen in Resident Evil, even though it was totally like it wouldn't really happen, was in the final chapter when they led all of the zombies to that place where all the humans were, and what the humans did was they like took all of this gas, poured it down, and then lit a match so it looked like a waterfall of fire ate up all the zombies. It was cool, but the fire would have traveled up and blew everything up. But that was a good cinematic view. Now some things I can say kind of look like shit, like Nemesis. They should have put a little bit of CGI with that because he looked rubbery.
I thought it was just his clothes that was making that noise.
No, he just looked rubbery. It's like when you see him walking the little tubes and stuff, be jiggling a little bit. I was like, and he looked bulky and kind of clumsy. And I was like, yeah, they probably should have CGI'd that. Yep, we got a new subscriber, Miss Katie Steyer. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. We hope that you continue to enjoy our content. We can start shouting out people that subscribe while we're doing videos. So, hey, let's go ahead and do that. But, as we were saying, of course, and even with the tyrant, when Ian Glenn becomes that tyrant, the one that was in Extinction, the one with the long fingers, like even that looked a bit like bulky and kind of clumsy. Even with the fingers, they look like rubbery and everything. So I was like, yeah, but as far as everything else, like,
what about the little minions?
Minions.
The little lickers.
In the first movie, it looked like shit. The second movie, they looked a lot better. So in terms of the actual visuals, even though I do like the dark environment, and let's see, Underworld doesn't have bad anything like. Don't the worst. The movie with the worst visual effects is Rise of the Lycans. I went back and watched. I was like, damn, there's some shitty ass graphics. But everything else looks pretty cool. When Quinn transformed into the Uber Lycan, it looked pretty cool. When Marius transformed to the Uber Lycan hybrid thing, it looked pretty cool. The stunts and stuff would look freaking awesome. And
I really think that even though Resident Evil got it with the visuals, Underworld focused more on the story than trying to make a big thing.
A big spectacle, yeah. So in terms of the visuals, yeah, we'll say Resident Evil. Now this I am split on. A lot of the action scenes in Resident Evil are large scale, but sometimes they do feel a little pointless. But I do like the great action sequences from from Underworld as well. Like some of I love the fights. I love the Selene versus Uber Lycan fight. I like the action sequence when they went in to fight William, the big white one, white werewolf. I like the fight, but remember the fight where Selene and Michael are on the truck, and then Marcus flies in and attacks them. Like I love that one. Um, and like I said, even Resident Evil has some really good action sequences as well. What was the one where even though a lot of them were like that would not happen or she should have died.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the coolest parts was in Resident Evil Afterlife. She jumps off the building
Mm-hmm.
and blows up the zombies on the top of the building. Now, how the hell they got up there, I'll never understand. Because the people didn't even get up there that fast, but okay. But she jumps down, she's swinging, it's going slow mo, and somehow she swung all the way to the bottom. But, but what did you think about like the Claire versus the Axeman fight?
That was very good
I did like that one.
until Alice stole her thunder.
Yeah, that's one thing I hated about that was Alice just stole everybody's freaking thunder. But but you know what? What
But
was? Go ahead.
it was Claire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was really she was really kicking ass on that scene. I did like that.
Also, another one of my favorite sequences, pretty cool action sequences, actually was the one part with, which is kind of hard to see, was in the final chapter where that weird monster came at Alice. Remember, she was talking to this other survivor, and this monster just comes out of nowhere and eats the guy, and then it's hard. It was hard to see it, but it was like a monster that had a bunch of teeth, and I was like, "What the hell is that?"
Um,
Like that one was pretty cool. That scene right there was probably the one scene throughout the entire series where you're like, "Is she gonna make it out of there?" Because this thing was fast, and she couldn't fight it. She had to run, and the only reason that she escaped from it was, I want to say, dumb luck. I mean, it was writing, of course, but it wasn't like something she planned. It's like the thing kind of, just it was just like an after effect. I guess you could say the writing, but
mhm.
but that was a pretty cool and memorable sequence as well. And think about the first movie; she was fighting those dogs.
Yeah, when she got kicked down that thing.
Yeah, and then no, not that one. That was the third one. But in the first one, she shot all these dogs, and then one dog pops out of nowhere, and then that's the one where she ran off the wall, turned around, and then kicked it. Like that was like a pretty
I
cool
can't do
scene.
that.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool
When she
scene.
started developing her
Yeah,
stuff. Okay.
yeah, like that was pretty cool. Then, like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I like the Underworld's action sequence. I think they feel more grounded. Like when she's actually fighting and stuff, and she takes a blow or something like that. It's like, yeah, it feels more grounded. But I think Resident Evil is a bit over the top, too over the top. To
Well, yeah, think about it. Selene is immortal. She can, you know, take those blows. And as an Alice, yeah. I mean, she takes blows, and she gets hurt.
but then
But the scenes is made a little bit over the top, maybe.
kind of like if you look at Retribution, there was the one scene where Leon and the group were fighting those zombie Nazi guys. Okay, I was like, okay, that's lame. But then you have the sequence where Alice comes, they get in the car, and then they're having this shootout, and then the Uber the Uber liquor shows up. Like that was a pretty cool scene. So
You
I,
can say both.
I don't like I said I don't know. I want to say I really want to say I want to give this to Underworld because this stuff feels more grounded.
Okay. Underworld.
But I have to say it did. Resident Evil had one of my favorite fight sequences Well, two of my favorite fight sequences: the Wesker versus the Good Guys fight at the end of Retribution. No, at the end of Afterlife, and then there was the Jill versus Alice fight where Jill was kicking Alice's butt in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you know what? Both. I'm gonna say both. Uh, I'm uh, I'm trying not to be like that, but it's like I can't really pick.
Lead character.
Okay, now we're saying best lead character of the two. You have Milla Jovovich as Alice, and you have Kate Beckinsale as Selene. Now, off the bat, you can tell they're both badasses because both of them have a first name but no last name.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you think about? Which one do you think? Well, in fact, what are your thoughts about them?
I mean, like I said, Resident Evil. I saw that before Underworld, and Alice was doing her thing. She can fight, move, and what do you call that?
What?
Adapt to certain situations. Like she can find anything, make it a weapon. You know, that's what I think about that. And I mean, as an Underworld, I would really have to go back and watch that.
I'm. I want. This is what I'm going to say. Underworld. I like Alice. I think she's cool. I think her intentions are noble as a character. I think she's a great character. But I think the films kind of cater her to her character a little bit too much
Mm-hmm.
because it does overshadow the other characters.
Yeah,
I
I can
think
see that.
Celine is a better character because she starts because not only because of her origin story, but because of the development of her character. Because from the first movie, she's like this complete badass with no emotion. Because that was one of the things people didn't like about her because she was so badass that she was just kind of one dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
But as the movies kind of churn out, you see her character starts to develop a little bit more. She's still badass, but she's still developing. And there's not even going down the list of her abilities. Now, if we're going to talk about her abilities, I would still give that to Selene.
Mm-hmm.
Because unlike Alice, Alice got all of these great and cool abilities, but she lost them. So it's like if we're gonna go by abilities wise, and you can and remember we was watching the video and they're saying uh, Alice got it because of her telekinesis,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like, can her telekinesis keep up with her speed? Because to a regular human, even Alice is quick, but she's not quick as Celine.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would give it to Celine just based on her abilities as a vampire, how she utilizes them. I think Alice is cool with her abilities and with her character, but I like Celine more. I like Celine more.
But we're not going by abilities wise.
But I'm talking about just character, abilities, motivations, all of that.
No, but I was just saying we're not going by abilities wise. But I would still say Underworld because of, like you said, her change, her development. As in Alice, she was just like badass all the way through. You saw her kind of
Some moments,
shed a tear here and there, get a little emotional, but
there's with her character, she doesn't develop. In the first, it's like when she goes from the first movie, she's like this woman that's trying to figure everything out, and then after that, when Apocalypse happens, she's just badass the entire time, no development. You get one sequence, kind
did
of
she have
that little girl.
like a bow or something?
A who?
A man.
A boo?
A,
You said a
I,
bow.
oh
Ooh,
no, that's a bow.
I say boo.
Why you say boo?
That's how you say it.
No,
Boo.
bow. Beau.
I was
Bow.
waiting for you to say BOW. I was like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, she had a bow in these movies.
I meant
I say boo.
a man. Don't say boo.
The only dudes that she had of any interest was Carlos to some extent, and then of course Luther. That was about it.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. She, uh, Selene managed through all that to have some sort of a love life and a child and all of that and still.
But then again, technically, she had a child too.
I know, but it's like she didn't change.
I mean, she. I'm not gonna lie. Retribution, you did see they did change it up with her a little bit.
A little bit.
They did give her some emotional after they decided to kill a black dude off. But okay, well before that,
And
but
we'll still go with
so
Underworld.
we're gonna go with Selene. So we'll say Underworld for the lead. Yeah.
Writing.
And okay, we're talking about the writing now. Resident Evil's writing is terrible. It is terrible. Oh my gosh, the writing is just so bad. That Underworld has its problems with its writing too. Sometimes a little bit of the consistency is a bit off. A lot of the characters are poorly written. Sometimes the stories try to feel more complicated than what they need to be. Uh, and even with, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, even how they treated my boy Michael, how they written his character off, they really should have recast that role. But like that's neither here nor there. That's a little bit of the writing problem. Resident Evil, what just every movie is just like the writing is just bad. For one thing, like we said earlier, Selene takes over everything. Not Selene, Alice takes over everything. The movie, even though Alice is the protagonist of the series, and even though she has this war with Umbrella and all these corporations and stuff, the problem is they say Alice is the only one for some reason that can do all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a group of survivors, who's going to survive? Alice is going to get out of some kind of way. Everybody else will die. The badass characters that you love to see from the games, they don't really have a moment. And then when they do have a moment, who capitalizes on it?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, like we were just saying about Claire, she had a moment with the Axe Man. What happened? She did all of that, fought the Axe Man, beat him, got him down, and who took the win? Alice. So and then a lot of things that happen in each movie, just they all the movies feel like different movies. They don't feel like continuations. A lot of times, a character be introduced in one movie, be written out in the next movie, and then come back, and then they don't explain when the character gets written out and stuff like that.
So okay, how do you or what do you think about like when someone just meets Alice and they were like, well, who are you? And then she was like, she says the same story every time instead of trying to say what she did before then.
They
Before
never, yeah,
yeah.
they never go into her origin. That's like the biggest thing. You like, so who the hell is she? She's a part of Umbrella, but it's like, what led up to that? Who did she how does she? What is her motivation for taking down Umbrella? So you know what I'm saying? Did she have brothers and sisters? They never bring any of that stuff up. No, they did. They did address that. They did address that. Let me take that back. They
And
did
the
address
last
that.
one.
Yeah, her being a clone, which people didn't like that, but I bought it. I was like, you know what? That does make sense.
Oh, that.
That does make sense. That does, and that's within the realm of Resident Evil. If you follow the games, the bad guys do stuff like that. So you like, it's kind of a little bit far fetched, but it makes sense. She's actually a clone, and then the
So
little.
she like had no memories before. She just knew that she wanted to take down Umbrella.
I mean, it's a kind of a cop out because you realize when they started doing, introduced the clone thing in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, they just started throwing clones everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Isaacs came back. It was like 3 clones of him.
Yeah, the black military dude.
Yeah,
Rain.
Rain. Oh, Wesker had to have been a clone because there's no way he escaped that blast in Afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back in the next movie. And then the thing about West, which didn't make any sense, because it's like, why did he help the good guy? Which, even with that, they left Retribution off with this big ass like battle that we thought we was going to see. Zombies, BOWs, going to be fighting the last and the grandest of humanity's strongholds. And in the next movie, you just see a wasteland. She's like, no, you should have started off with a big ass fucking battle.
Where they were on
It,
top of the building.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm like, that should have been a badass fucking fight. If my characters are going to be written off as they possibly died or whatever, which is stupid because you think about it, she never brought up any of them. Now, I don't think at one moment in that movie she brought up said, "Man, I can't do this anymore." Leon died fighting. Like they at least could have showed that. There was if you're gonna write them off as they died or whatever, show it. Show the place getting overrun. And why was she the only fucking survivor? I told you that. So, and you know, and the dialogue for both of them ain't the best, but
So Underworld.
so we'll give it to Underworld has better writing.
And you're gonna have to go with this one because I didn't listen to it.
I love the soundtracks for Underworld, but Resident Evil takes it all away. The soundtracks, Resident Evil takes them all away. They have the most memorable ones. They're more fast paced. They're really badass. Remember at the beginning of Retribution, doom, doom, and it shows her like in the water, and it's like doom, 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 and then it's showing the whole sequence of that boat fight, but it's doing everything backwards. Awesome. The after apocalypse, awesome. Extinction, there's no fucking way anybody could argue with the soundtracks for these movies. No way. And what was they showed it in the they put it in at the end of Afterlife. But if you've seen Resident Evil Afterlife, one of the songs that they put in the commercial was this can't tell and self-destruct one bullet at a time.
Oh
And
my
then
God, he's singing.
and then at the end of it, when they were doing the Wesker fight, they put that song back into it. I was like, soundtrack. Resident Evil got the soundtrack.
Okay.
Hands down. So, alright, let's just tally up the score. Let's see who wins out.
Okay. Well, Resident Evil 4 and Underworld is 5.
Underworld won out?
Yep.
Wait, are you counting the both?
Huh?
You counting the ones we said both?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Underworld.
Between Underworld and Resident Evil, Underworld wins out. Y'all heard it. But that's it for us. I mean, I enjoyed the conversation. We both got a lot out of our chests, and that was pretty close too.
Mhm.
That was a real close. That was a real close one. But guys, in the comment section below, let us know which one of these film franchises you think is better than the other one, Underworld or Resident Evil. If you agree with our points, let us know. If you didn't agree with our points, or if there are some points that we didn't bring up, let us know down there in the comment section below. Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of what we got going on this channel, guys. And we'll definitely catch you guys later.